I think we have our answer. Many people wondered over the last couple of weeks, what was Mossad doing in Brazil and in Colombia? Why were they there? Well, I think it's pretty clear. This whole ruse of attempting to get aid into the country was just so that people weren't watching. Mossad clearly got in through Brazil, got to the Guri Dam, sabotaged it, and took down the power grid. But make no mistake, this isn't just about making Nicolas Maduro look bad or incompetent. And it's not about inconveniencing the people of Venezuela so that they don't have air conditioning or lights. This is a straight up attack on the financial system of Venezuela. They have almost completely gotten rid of the dollar, and Dash, along with other cryptocurrencies, have become incredibly prevalent. This is one of the things that frightens Washington, D.C. more than anything. The world realizing that the days of the petrodollar are almost done, and they are an operational example in Venezuela of how it can be done. It isn't easy. DC will attack you over and over and over again. They'll tell lies about your leader. They'll even pretend to stand up some other president and then say that he's now the leader and steal money out of bank accounts and give it to that person, pretending they are the president. They'll even send out their State Department spokesperson, Robert Palladino, to instruct the media about the language they need to use. That's how far they will go. But they fail once again. It's not going to work. Odd timing, of course, that the UN Commissioner on Human Rights, High Commissioner on Human Rights, is scheduled to arrive tomorrow. And of course, we had Marco Rubio being his ridiculous self, making light of a situation where they were having hospitals that had to manually pump air into the lungs of infants because of this attack from Washington, D.C. Using cryptocurrency is something that a lot of Americans are ambivalent about, North Americans. But we have been basically doing that for a very long time. When you use cards to pay for anything, all that's really happening is it's a ledger balance that's changing from one bank to another. That's it. It's just digits. And that's what cryptocurrency does. Cryptocurrency is as slaved to electricity as are your debit cards. There's really no difference. To say that, cryptocurrency is much more dangerous is actually ridiculous. You don't understand the technology. There have been occasions recently where people have lost money, but when you put them up next to the amount of Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes that have ripped people off with regular money, it pales in comparison. Social Security being the biggest Ponzi scheme ever run. Trillions of dollars will be lost. Mark my words. I don't think I have to convince most of my audience of that. But there has been a huge bump in the value of these cryptocurrencies because of that, and it's been recently reported on. Litecoin, Bitcoin, they're calling it the Venezuela effect. Litecoin is going up and up and up, and this is even Forbes saying that it is because of Venezuela. Because they have stood back up. They haven't collapsed. They haven't gone completely into the tank. They've been threatening that for, half a decade now? I can show you articles from 2014 where they say Maduro only has 90 days left, or Maduro only has a year left, and that was back in 14 and 15. They knew they had to go after the banks. They knew they had to go after the money because they couldn't bully Russia. They couldn't bully China. They couldn't bully Turkey. They couldn't bully these most Latin American nations into supporting a military intervention. That's why they had to keep running out this idea, all options are on the table, because they know that's the only way. They know that is the only way they will ever take control of Venezuela, and that is by force with our military, and they know what the cost of that is going to be. That DC will become a world pariah, even here in our nation. They didn't want to do this because they know it's going to cost the current administration the next election if they do it. They try to paint Mr. Maduro in a negative light in this AP article but they can't not report what the truth is. Even the people at the dam said it was sabotage. If they don't have the parts and they don't have the equipment and they don't have the engineers, you can blame the United States, because the United States threatens Washington, D.C. threatens every business, every bank, every entity that attempts to do business with Venezuela. If you even sell them a part that might be needed to fix a power grid, you're going to be sanctioned by D.C. This is the game. So they create the problem so that they can set themselves up at the solution, and Hegelian dialect over and over and over again. This is what was going on in Venezuela the last 2 days. DC has not given up. They've just gotten more desperate, and they're attempting to control the narrative. But we're not going to allow that here. In fact, I'm going to play this little video forward for a couple of minutes and show you something, once again with the sound down, that most people would miss because they are so brainwashed. Now, this is a McDonald's. This is somebody ready to go on shift who's just gotten up and is a little tired. So as we play this forward, that's the McDonald's, and of course they start showing the dark streets. But of course, people have cars. They have cars that have gasoline in them, and if I didn't show you that this was Venezuela, you would think it would be some place in any major city in America. You wouldn't know. Do these people look like they just got up and ate the family dog that morning? And yes, there are huge lines at the buses, unfortunately. I've seen this in Chicago before. But once again, people getting up, people going to work, people getting the job done. No mass riots, no mass looting. Notice they haven't shown that, have they? In most major American cities, when power outages happen like this, there's mass looting. Have you seen any pictures of any mass looting in Venezuela? You would think if there was ever a country where looting might be something that, not I wouldn't say called for, but at least understood, it would be a country like this, right? Where are the pictures of the looting? You would think the opposition would have loved that in this guy. I tell you what, you talk about a war criminal, Pompeo, after he leaves office, boy, I tell you what. And of course, they have to do this. They have their messages all ready. The power outage and the devastation hurting ordinary Venezuelans is not because of the USA. Of course, that has to be the first thing he says, right? It's not because of Colombia. Of course, not Ecuador, Brazil. Your power shortages and starvation are the result of the Maduro regime's incompetence. Really? So if there's any starving people in North America, any starving people anywhere on the continent, or any power outages that happen from now on, we can blame the current administrator? Is that the case? The problems in Alabama, apparently that must be the fault of our current administrator. See, this is something that without any information, without any knowledge whatsoever, they have their narrative. And I'm telling you what, this guy right here deserves a nice orange jumpsuit and a nice quiet cell for the rest of his life for what he has done. It's criminal. And they're using our money to do it. We stop sending them our money. We don't have to worry about them sending it back to us, and we can operate ourselves as 50 states again. I'm not even going to look at this joker anymore. Seriously. At this point, if you're still so deluded to think that the U.S. isn't orchestrating this, that this hasn't been completely a plan that launched from Doral, Florida, launched from West Venezuela, Florida, with the help of the current administration, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Over and over and over again, it is easy to see that our government, instead of offering assistance, that's what a normal government would have done. A normal government would have said, you know what, we don't agree with the style of government, but what can we do to help? No. Not our government. Nope. We have offered aid and assistance to places that have threatened to wipe us off the map. We've even offered aid and assistance to Iran before, believe it or not, when they had those earthquakes. Isn't it ironic our leader will sit down with this ridiculous dictator from North Korea, but not somebody from his own hemisphere? One word, kids. Mossad. Like, share, subscribe.